In this tutorial I will install a desktop application in a virtual test environment. So we have an existing Windows Forms desktop application created with Visual Studio and C#, and that application communicates with a local SQL Server database. And then we want to test this application in a virtual test environment. We will create a virtual test environment using the VirtualBox virtualization software. Then we will install Windows 10 or 11 in a virtual machine inside VirtualBox. In order to do that, we need to download and use a Windows 10 or 11 ISO file that we can download from internet. Then we can deploy our desktop application in that virtual environment. And our test environment shall simulate a final production environment. So typically we cannot install Visual Studio in that environment, but we choose to install a local SQL Server Express database. So let's start creating a virtual test environment and deploy our Windows Forms desktop application. So let's start with the local Windows Forms desktop application. So I have an application here. Here I have my database files. So here I have a table script, stored procedures, views, etc. that this application is using. In addition, I have created a merge of SQL script called sql.sql. So this file includes all the tables, views, stored procedures, scripts, etc. into one SQL file. But let's start running our application. So then I go to my application called Book System. I just open the solution file, open it in Visual Studio. So this is a so-called CRUD application. It communicates with an SQL Server database. It inserts data, it retrieves data, it updates the data and deletes data from the database. So this application consists of 3 forms: the main form, a new book form, and an edit book form. It also consists of a book.cs class, and also the communication or connection string to the database is stored in app.config, which is the configuration file for desktop applications. So here you have the connection string for this application, so we can communicate with my local SQL Server database. So let's just start our application. It's a simple application here. It's just a table with information that are retrieved from the database. So now there are 3 different books in my database. I can add new books, or I can click edit to edit an existing book, or I can also delete a book like this. So that's a very basic application that has the CRUD functionality for inserting, retrieving, updating and deleting data in a local SQL Server database. So the next step now is to install a virtual software. I choose to use VirtualBox in this tutorial, but you can use other virtual virtualization software like Hyper-V, VMware Workstation, etc. So then let's start to install this VirtualBox. So now just here in Google search for VirtualBox, and then it goes to the home page. So VirtualBox is a free virtualization software that you can download free. So basically just download, click on this button in order to download and install this software. So after installation of VirtualBox, I open this software, VirtualBox Manager. Then here you can install new virtual machines or use existing one. So then you will have a list here on the left side where you have your virtual machines, and then here on the right side you have your configuration information. So then I have already a Windows 11 virtual machine here that I will use, but in order to create a new virtual machine, basically you just go to machine and select new, or here click new, and then you need to specify a name, a folder where you are going to to save your virtual machine, and then here you need to select an ISO file, and that ISO file you need to download from internet. So basically you just go to your web browser and Google download Windows 11 ISO file or something, and then you just click on this link and then follow this instruction in order to install a Windows 11 ISO file. So here on my hard drive I have this ISO file located. So here under software, Windows, I have a Windows 11 ISO file. So I will need to use that ISO file when installing Windows 11 in my VirtualBox software. So then I just select the location of the ISO file here. So in addition to the name, Win11, and the location where the virtual machine shall be stored on your hard drive, the ISO file, and then it automatically here pops up different version of Windows 11. Typically you want to install Windows 11 Pro or something. And then basically you just click finished and then follow the instructions on the screen in order to install Windows 11 in that virtual machine. Since I have already installed a virtual machine called Windows 11 here, then I just click start in order to start my virtual machine. So then this Windows pops up. Here I'm running Windows 11 inside a virtual machine using this VirtualBox software. So the next thing you typically want to do is to go to devices and then insert guest addition CD image. That are software that you install on this virtual machine in order to make the behavior of Windows more smoother. Typically you need to install that one in order to make sure that the windows are resizing properly like this. So when I resize the window, Windows follows inside. And then basically you select devices and insert guest addition CD image, and then you just go to the File Explorer and find this one, CD drive D, VirtualBox guest additions, and then you just typically install the proper file here, depending on what kind of CPU you have. Typically you install this VBox Windows Additions x86, or if you have an AMD processor, you install this one. And by installing this one, you are making sure that you can resize the window, etc. And also typically you want to copy files from your host to this guest operating system, and then typically you also want to click the devices, select drag and drop, and then either host to guest, select this one, or bidirectional. Then you can copy files both from the guest to the host and from a host to the guest like this. So now your virtual environment is up and running, so now you need to start installing the necessary software. So typically you first need to install a local SQL server. So then I just here in Google just type SQL server. Oh, sorry, that's a spelling mistake. And then just click this link. And then here you have access to the different versions of SQL Server. I just want to use this free Express version. Then I just click download here in order to install that version on or inside my virtual machine. So then I just click here, open file, and then just yes, and then just start to install the SQL Server on this virtual machine. I just select custom, select the proper location, install. So then this Windows pops up, and then I select just new SQL Server standalone installation. Then I just just go through the different steps in this wizard. So then here I accept the license term. Check for updates is of course recommended. Then just click next. Here I don't want to use this Azure extension, so I'll just remove it. Here's the different features you should install. So at least you should install the database engine, machine learning, etc. Doesn't necessary for this application. So then database engine services, use the default location. Then you can select as proper name. I just use named instance SQL Express. Click next. And then here you have the different services. I just set them all to automatic like this. Click create. Then this part is information authentication mode. Default is Windows authentication mode. Typically you want to have mixed mode, and then you need to type a password for the system administrator or SA account. So then I just type a proper password. Like this, click next, and then SQL Server will be installed on my virtual machine. So now the SQL Server setup or installation is finished. I just click close. In addition to the SQL Server itself, I typically also want to install this SQL Server Management Studio, so I click on this link as well. And then a web page is opening. Download SQL Server Management Studio, just click on this link. And then a new file is downloaded. So then I just open this file in order to install the SQL Server Management Studio. And just use the default location, click install, click yes, and then this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio will be installed. So now Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio has been finished installing. I just need to restart my computer, and then we are good to go. So now we have a clean Windows 11 computer with SQL Server installed. So then I just search for this Management Studio. So here it is. So I can just open it. I can also pin it to the taskbar. So let's just make sure that our SQL Server is working. So then I just select my server name, authentication. I use SQL Server Authentication, type the SA password, and the password I was entering during the setup. This remember password, it's okay. Click on connect. So there's an issue with certificated. I just click OK, and here under encryption I select just optional, and then try again, connect. And then we are able to connect to the database. So far there are no databases here except for the system database. So then I just right click here, create a new database, and just since we are creating a book system, I just create a database called books, click OK. And then so far this database is empty, but now we need to use our SQL script in order to install the necessary tables, views, store procedures, etc. in this test database. So now I'm back on my host computer where I have my Windows Forms CRUD application with this book system. So here I have my database with the different tables, views, store procedures, scripts, etc. that I put and combine into this new file, sql.sql. So in order to create this one, you can use a handy tool that I have developed. It's called a database script app. Just a simple app created with Visual Studio and C#. So it looks like this if I run it. Basically I need to select this root folder, and then I just go to my computer, in my development folder, CredApps, Windows Form CredApp on my database. That's the root folder for my database. And inside, in this one, where I have my tables, views, store procedures, and other scripts. So let's just select this one, and then create. And then by clicking the create button, I will create a new SQL script that contains the tables, the views, the stored procedures, etc. in one file. So then I might just click save here, and then select the existing file or create a new file. That file will then contain all the tables, views, stored procedures, scripts, etc. So then I'm back in my virtual environment. So now I just need to copy this file to the virtual environment, and make sure click devices, drag and drop, and select bidirectional or host to guest in order to copy files between the host and this guest operating system. And I can start by creating a local folder here on my virtual machine where I want to install the software. I can just create a folder called software or something, and then I just drag this SQL script from my host to the guest operating system like this. If you get an error, then typically first time you just want to copy it to the desktop like this, and then you can just drag it in like this. So now I have this SQL file on my virtual machine. Then I just open SQL Server Management Studio, just drag it in here, and then you see I have this script with all the tables. Here there are the views, stored procedures, and finally I have also some default data that I put into the database. So basically I just run it, make sure the books database is selected in this case, click execute, and now I refresh here. I see the tables has been installed, the view, the stored procedures, etc. has been installed in this SQL Server test database. I can also run a script here or a query, select all from book, click execute, then you see select all, or just select use the different columns in the book table, book ID, title, etc. So select book ID, title, etc. from this book table, click execute, and then you see I have also some books into the database. So now the database is set up. Now I need to also deploy or install my Windows Form desktop application. So now I'm back to the host computer where I have my book system desktop application here. I also create, and here I have my database which I have deployed. Then I also create a folder called deployment where I'm going to deploy the desktop application. So then I just open my Visual Studio and my book application. So now I'm in Visual Studio and having this book application up and running. And then remember our database information is stored in this app config here. And then next, now I just want to deploy this application, so then I can click here on book system, the project, right click, select publish, and then here are different options. Select folder, publish or deployment, click next, folder, click next, and then here I need to specify a folder. And then as mentioned, I have this deployment folder I created here. I can also create a folder here. I can call it book system or something. and then I just also select this one, book system, OK, and click finish, close. And then in order to publish this one, I just click on this publish button. Takes a few seconds in order to publish this application. Then I just close Visual Studio and go to this folder, this deployment folder. And then you see the application has been deployed here. I can also, so this is the main file, booksystem.exe. I can also open it here to make sure it works as expected. And then you see the book system application is up and running. It retrieves values from the database. I can add new books, edit existing books, or also delete the books like this. So now basically I just need to copy this folder to the virtual machine. So then I go back to my Windows 11 virtual machine. I have created this software folder. Basically I then just drag and drop the application to my virtual machine like this. So now I have it here. I can also, basically now I can just open it, but first, before I start this application, I typically need to change my connection string to the database, and then I need to open this file, booksystem.dll.config. So I just open it, select Notepad, click Always, and then this is actually, if I go back to my host computer and my Visual Studio project here, so the connection string was originally stored in a file called app.config, but when you deploy the application, that same information are stored in a file called booksystem.dll.config. I can also go here to on view in Windows, select show file name extension, so you see that this file is called booksystem.dll.config. And then here I have my connection string, and now I need to specify a new data source, a new database name, etc. But for my case, if I go to Visual Studio, to the SQL Server Management Studio, my database here in the virtual machine is called the same as the database I have locally, so I don't need to change it. So my database name is called Hans-Petter/SQL Express. So that's the server name, and also the database name also here in the test environment is called books, which I have here. So typically this connection string should now be correct. I just close it, close SQL Server, and then just basically just double click on booksystem.exe in order to start my application. And now next here you must install .NET Desktop Runtime, and then I just click, because my application is using the latest .NET, which is .NET version 8, and that version of .NET is not installed in my virtual environment yet. So then I just click here, download it now, and then this web page is just opening. Thanks for downloading .NET etc. And then this setup file is downloaded, and then I can just click here, Windows Desktop Runtime 8. So this is .NET version 8 runtime. Click open file, install, click yes, and then this .NET runtime version 8 is installed in the virtual environment. So after a few seconds the installation is finished. Then I just click close the web browser, and then try once more. Open the exe file, booksystem.exe, and then you see now I've been able to deploy my Windows Forms desktop application to this virtual environment, and it connects to the database. I can edit information, I can delete information, I can also click new. So let's just try to make a new book. Title, test 1, 2, 3, publisher 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Publisher, Wiley, author, better category. I can select crime or something, click OK, and then you see now there are 4 books in the database, and then I can also open my SQL server here locally inside the test environment, select book ID, title from book, click execute, and then you see this 4th book has been created in my local SQL Server test environment database. So the last thing I want to do is to just create a shortcut here on my desktop. So then I just right click on my booksystem.exe, show more options, create shortcut. And then it was created here, but I just drag it to the desktop. Change the name, just to remove this shortcut exe. So now call it book space system, so book system. No, basic, and I also created an icon for my application in Visual Studio when I created the application there. So now basically I can just double click on this icon on the desktop in order to open my Windows Forms desktop application here in this virtual test environment. And now I can test all the features in that application. I can try to install new books, edit existing books, try to delete books, etc. I can try to delete this test one. Delete, do you sure want to delete this test 1, 2, 3? Yes, and then you see it are deleted as expected. So basically my application is working as expected. If you find bugs in your application, typically you need to report that bugs in the bug reporting system that you are using. So that's all. So good luck with the deployment of your application.